Now is the time for school choice. Our nation's future depends on it. This is my school choice breakdown.
It's the Mega Man, and nah, that doesn't stand for hate. We're just saying it's time for education to be great.
Hello, everyone. This is Make Education Great Again. I'm your host, Chris Morris. Today's topic, now is the time for school choice, my school choice breakdown. Now, it's been a long time coming, to be completely honest, for me to get on the horse and really attack that mountain of education like I believe I've been called by the Lord to do and articulate it in a certain way that he wants. And hopefully I can do a good job of that today. So, Lord, I just pray that you just take over my mouth, articulate things in a way that brings understanding, highlights the problems that are currently in existence, the infrastructure that's in existence right now that's hindering our students and suffocating kids. I pray, Lord, that you just come upon me. I thank you. In Jesus' mighty name, I pray these things. Amen. I got to start off with a prayer on this one because I really feel humbled that I need to really tap into God's Spirit when I articulate these things. So if you don't know much about school choice, you're going to learn a little bit about it on today's episode because it's pivotal for our nation to survive, to go forward. Right now, our nation's children, they're suffocating. Literally, they're suffocating. They're being forced to put a mask over their mouth, and they're probably suffocating themselves to a degree just doing the protocols, And on top of that, the policies, the testing, the burden that's put on some of these kids, the chaos, they can't ever stay with one thing long enough to learn anything well enough to thrive in their future, and the life's getting sucked out of them. It's wrong. It's evil. It's a plan of the enemy, and I'm going to highlight how this is happening, and we got to talk about the problem. If we don't talk about the problem, you don't recognize a solution when it's presented before you. That's just what it is. I'm not going to call the plumber if I don't realize, I got a leaky sink, Yeah, I don't call, some of these businesses unless I notice the problem first. So we're going to talk about the problem, and we're going to unpack this. I plan to do this over a period of days. We're going to do a little series on this school choice topic, and then we'll just see where the Lord leads from there. So just to kind of start with some basics that a lot of people don't know. I'm from the South, okay? And so this is a hot button issue in the South. Education always is. I'm in the state of Tennessee, and you're going to hear an interview from a YouTuber. Shout out to y'all. I think it's the Indie Thinker. He's a local guy in my area, and I've been following this topic that they did. They did a really good job on a podcast. I'm going to show some clips of it, okay, from this gentleman that they had on the show. And so I just want to talk about some basic data that some people may not know about our nation's public schools. We'll start with this. In the state of Tennessee, and it's comparable to a lot of areas, at least in the Southeast, they're spending on average about $11,000 per student. $11,000, not too bad. In fact, there's a lot of private schools, honestly, that you can get by spending less than that. They're spending $11,000 per student. But here's the thing. About 53% of that 11,000 is actually making it to our classrooms, which means basically 50%, 47% or so is just getting caught up in bureaucracy, is getting paid for someone who's a counselor of some, they're great at naming titles in the era of education. That's both college and grade school, okay? And what they actually do, we don't know. It could just be signing their name on a form that doesn't need to exist because it's already on the internet. I've seen all kinds of stuff, folks. But $6,000 of $11,000 is making it to the classroom. The rest is getting tied up in bureaucracy. Here are some other numbers for you. In the state of Tennessee, I'm just going to start there. We're pumping most of our tax dollars, billions of dollars into public education in particular. 3% are reading at mastery level in the state of Tennessee. We're spending all this money. Oh, you need to fund education. Don't you care about the kids? Your results are something that should be considered. 3% are graduating at a mastery level of reading, and let me see what that is. Oh, yeah. That about 20 to 25% are actually on track to at least be proficient at reading, and 7.6% is the rate of mastering math in the state of Tennessee. Only 21% are on track. And the number's about 5.6% at mastery level that we're graduating in the state of Tennessee. In science, only in the 20s or maybe even less than that are on track to be basically proficient. Reading is probably my biggest concern. The reading rate, 3%. Are you serious? We're spending all this money and cranking in all these dollars, and it's not fixing it. So we have got to talk about this this problem. Okay, we're going to unpack it today. So first, I want to show you a video clip, and I'm going to go back and forth between it, where basically we're talking about what some people think is school choice versus what we call kind of the crappy version of school choice, which is you can pick this government school or you can pick up this charter school down the road if you have a if you're lucky enough to win the lottery, versus what I believe real school choice is, which is you get funds allocated to you. If you have 2 kids in the house and it's $11,000 per student, which normally goes to the school, let's give that $11,000, $22,000 to the parent. But you can only use that for educational purposes, of course. We're going to talk about how that is going to be the key to open up the future for all kids and also create competition where you have more viable options for people to go to, and you put the pressure on people who are low performing to actually put together a better product, which helps all kids. Okay, I said before, you get out of life what you have the leverage to negotiate. Let me go ahead and get into this first video. So this is about 7 minutes. He's going to explain crappy school choice versus good school choice, and then we're going to kind of go from that topic to exactly why kids in these failing schools not having an option is like being in a lion's den. I like the analogy he uses, and we're going to just kind of go through this. So let me go ahead and switch over to the screen. Here we go. Hopefully y'all can hear this all right, and listen to this guy's take. Okay, it's interesting.
So school choice has a multitude of methodologies by which it is discussed. So you have the kind of school choice that I hate, which is you can now pick your government school to go to, and there are various degrees of move to different schools, and that's all well and good, but typically in most cases, like in Tennessee, it's like you can go to this awful restaurant with a 32% health rating, or you can go to this one with a 43% health rating, and that's what they call school choice. Another form of school choice is voucher, which means that you can take it to an educational institution if it's approved. You have educational savings accounts, and I would be all for, in many cases, just a straight-up unfettered tax rebate. If 50% plus of state dollars goes into education, and if you're not utilizing it because you're homeschooling or private school, I think you should just be able to get a percentage of your tax payments back, whether it be in sales tax or, in my case, business tax or property tax, and send your child to the school of your choice.
Mm-hmm. And then why? So I'm gonna pause it right there. So what do you think about that? So essentially, a lot of times, and this is what's funny, the left and a lot of times people who work in public education, they're real slick. Let me see if I can come on screen here. It looks like I'm having a freeze up moment. They're real slick on using words like, oh, well, we have school choice. I'm like, okay, you need to press them. What do you mean when you say you have school choice here? Because if you're just saying we have a lottery system where you can kind of put your name in a hat and hope you get your name pulled out and you get to go to maybe 2 other options than the one that you're zoned for, that's crap. I'm sorry. I'd say another word, but there might be children watching this. Okay, that's crap. Like he said, a restaurant, if you got one of those scores, those sanitation scores, or whatever they call it, at 32%, and well, you can go to one that has 40%. Is that okay with you? You're gonna take your kids to eat there? No, bruh. That's not what I'm signing up for. Now, I will say this, not to rag on the state of Tennessee, it's where I'm from. The governor has actually made some efforts to put in school choice and to highlight that. And so I know that they, before the pandemic, were piloting it in 2 counties, Shelby County, I believe, being one, where they do something called educational savings accounts, ESAs for short, educational savings accounts. So think like health savings account, how you can use a health savings account. Some people get that through their job. You can use it for anything, for buying prescriptions. As long as it's medically related, you're allowed to use those funds. And so they were piloting that in a few counties in Tennessee with education. It's pretty cool. You can use it for private schools. You can use it for tutoring. You can use it for books. You can even save some of it if you don't use it all in a given year to go towards college. I think that's amazing. All right. The idea here is, instead of having the power of the purse be in the hands of the bureaucrat who doesn't care about your kid or love your kid, you put the power of the purse in the hands of the ones who love the kid the most. That would most of the time be the parents. Don't tell me, Mr. Politician, that you care about my kid more than I do. Do you know my kid's name? No. Do you know how old he is, what his interests are, how he best learns? No, I do, because I care about the kid, and I watch my child like a hawk, and I know things about them just by an expression that they make, even if they don't verbalize it to me. I know, not you. Okay, so we want to put the power of the purse in the hands of the parent. Why would the parent not want to have the power of the purse? Hey, you're not doing a good job. That means the parent, if they notice their educational institution is failing their kid, they can fire the educational institution. and take their kid elsewhere. But why the brainwashing? Why would anybody, think about that, why would anybody want to stand against choice for a kid who needs an educational outcome? The data's already out there. They measure it. If between like kindergarten and third grade, if you're not already reading at a certain level, they start informing the prison system. Because if you can't read and function in society and basically have basic competency to be able to earn a wage, you're going to end up going towards illegal behavior to get your income. Prison. The prison pipeline. It's real, okay? So you can't sit there and say, oh, don't you care about kids? And just keep pumping money into something that's already failing. You're graduating 3% at mastery level in reading. Are you kidding me? You need to spend your money differently is the case I'm trying to make here, folks. So anyway, that's something I want to hear about you guys in the comments, your thoughts on. But let me just go ahead to about 8 minutes and 55 seconds into this, they start talking about why people fight it. Because that's the question I have. I'm like, well, why would you stand against school choice? It makes no sense. Well, let's talk about money for a minute. Because, the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to it. You guys check this out. Listen to the comments on just the basics here on why it is that people fight against school choice. Because as it doesn't surprise me and some of y'all listening here, money is generally, the root.
Why are there people who are against this in your mind? Now, I know this means you have to crawl into the minds of other people and we have to speculate a little bit. So as much as possible, we don't want to straw man, but why are there people that would be resistant to putting the parents in a place of having the decision making of where they go to school? Because at the end of the day, I mean, this is the thing that keeps on becoming apparent to me is that or we're reminded of anyway, is that your tax dollars are the ones who are paying these parents. Shouldn't you have the choice as to where then your kids go to school and who are teaching your kids, since this is stuff that you're paying for? So what do you think are some of the main objections to people who don't want school choice?
Listen to this.
Tennessee, South Carolina, Missouri's largest government job factory.
Mm-hmm.
Now that can't be overlooked.
Yeah.
When you've got the largest population of government employees and they're in every community, and in many cases, the role of educator, and I may get in trouble here, has been sanctified as if that is like a role in a profession that can't be touched. Regardless of performance outcomes, regardless of government waste or abuse. So there's that part, and there's an echo chamber both in the media and in politics because those educator unions, the NEA, which has tons of members in Tennessee, South Carolina, Missouri, recently moved forward with their push to put critical race theory in all classes, which should again
Ridiculous.
Probably tell you that government unions in general are a bad idea and typically lead to bad places. They have historically. And so that's the one part of it, which is there's just tons of money being made, either being employed by or being a vendor to the government.
So I'm pausing it right there because I love that statement. Tons of money being made, either being employed by or a vendor to the government. Because the people who are entrepreneurs are like, hey, the government is wasteful. They spend way too much money on stuff. Let's go ahead and see if we can make a product and get them to overpay like crazy because the government doesn't care how they spend your tax dollars. That's just how it is. Tons of money being made there. So you have business interests that really want the current system to stay in place because they got a nice little gravy train contractual situation going on where they're getting way overpaid for the services that they give the government. Does that make sense? And on top of that, it's in so many counties, let's just get real, public education is the #1 employer of many people in the community. And it doesn't mean that those people are bad. It doesn't mean that those people are doing a bad job, not working really hard, but they're stuck in this bureaucracy that makes you do things in an ineffective way. Even when you try to do innovative things as a teacher, you're a lot handcuffed. You're going to end up being bopped and beat back into place kind of like a whack-a-mole, if that makes sense. Now, I want to provide some balance here because I don't like when the right side, conservative side, a lot of times they end up bashing people in public education to a point and they don't really understand what they're saying. Because as a former teacher, I can tell you you're caught between a rock and a hard place. A lot of times you can be a conservative teacher working, doing your best, trying to help that kid, but the stinking policies from the top all right, the Department of Education, whatever, they force you to do these policies that make no sense. Furthermore, the testing that's currently being used, since Bill Gates basically, through the Race to the Top funds back in 2010, I think it was, with Obama, they basically said you have to do Common Core in order to get this money. You follow the money, people, you'll see a lot of stuff. And these tests, especially in the math department, I worked in the math department, don't line up with the way they're forcing you to teach in class. In class, I was told constantly I'm not allowed to teach more than 15 minutes. I can't tell them information for more than 15 minutes directly. I have to do some big, large problem and kind of coach them and hope they organically figure out the quadratic formula. It would take an hour and a half. They still wouldn't know the quadratic formula. I'm like, why can't I just tell them what the formula is? You're not allowed to do that based on this research. Well, then they give you a test at the end of the year, and the test isn't like how you were told to taught. It's not like a big word problem they got to figure out and come up with themselves. It's like they want you to reinvent the wheel. The test is very much, hey, they had to have been taught directly all this stuff, and if you don't, they don't score right. And so I have a big problem when people, especially on the right side, are sitting there dogging teachers and saying you should be fired because the test scores aren't good. Well, the teachers are being forced to do stupid stuff. It's almost like saying, let me see, I want you to go ice skate around in a circle 7 times, and if you don't end up at the top of this mountain by the end of the day, we're going to fire you. In other words, what they're telling you to do would never end up in the result that they're telling you they want you to get to, but that's what's happening. Does that make sense? He doesn't know this because he doesn't work in public education, and that's what it's like. And so my thing is, I'm not trying to punish teachers. They're good-hearted people, and for the most part, there are bad ones, but at the same time, you got to balance that. Let's not attack even the school itself. Depending if you're zoned. Let's say it's a low-performing school. It's zoned, let's say, in a hard, rough area, an inner-city school where you got everyone who attends there, they don't have mom and dad in the house. They might have mom and dad in jail. They might be getting shot at on the way home. Those kids are so traumatized, by the time they get to the school, the only thing they can think of is, oh my gosh, thank God I'm in school. At least I'm not going to get shot at for the next 8 hours, which I dealt with, and at least I get to eat lunch. They don't have anything left in the tank by the time to even focus in class, yet alone get the scores that the kid up on some, like where I'm from, I'm in Chattanooga, let's say Signal Mountain, where the affluent people live. They don't have those stressors. They're not worried about these things. They're going to eat. Their parents are together. It's easy to focus on school when that's the case. You can't just punish the teachers because one's working at Signal Mountain and they're making, it's easy there and they're getting great scores because the kids will give you good scores even if you didn't try. Their parents were doctors or motivated. It's not the same thing. So we have to look at the testing and like really get a fair judgment. Are we really measuring things correctly? He's not touching on that at all, in my opinion, but that's just kind of what it is. So as always, I'm going to pick up, we want you to like, subscribe, and share to this content, but this is getting a little bit long. We're probably about 18 minutes, and I got way more to break down with this. Just to give you a little tip, we're going to talk about, why people fight against this so much more, and the fact that there's tons of money being made and employed by being either a vendor or an employee. We're going to talk a little bit more about the numbers, and then we're going to really start looking at some solutions here. While throwing money at the current way of doing things isn't going to change a daggone thing, and how when you have school choice, when parents have the power of the purse, yeah, you can move your daggum kid if they're not doing right by your kid, and guess what happens? All of a sudden, everybody, no matter how poor, no matter how rich, you have money to spend on education. Watch the schools pop up. Watch the churches start schools. Watch the warehouses turn into schools. Now, entrepreneurs will find a way. Just like he said, restaurants, if you leave them alone, they're everywhere. You don't have to the free market can move. But right now we have a monopoly under the control of elites, and people are handcuffed. And that's kind of an idea of what the problem really is. Let me know in the comments if you like today's content, if you have an opinion about it. If you're working in public education, I'm not fighting you at all. I'm fighting the people who are making your life more difficult. And to be completely honest with you, if school choice was a thing, you would have so many more options of employment that you could go to that are better. They're going to help you be free and enjoy your job and still get paid well. That's going to happen as a result. So don't fight me on this just because you work in that system. Be open to what I'm trying to lay out here. We got to spell out the problem. There's lots of people who are making gravy train money without accountability because of the current system the way it is. And they're saying, oh, you don't care about the kids if you don't pay me. I care about the kid. Let's pay the people. Let's pay the kid. Let's explore ways. Let's at least be free to talk about it. So anyway, let me know what you think on this one. As always, like, subscribe, and share. You can find a place to donate. I'll leave my link to my Cash App, my PayPal if you want to donate there, but I appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
It's the Mega Man, and nah, that doesn't stand for hate. We're just saying it's time for education to be great. And if we keep on doing everything that we've been doing, it will no longer be our freedom that we're pursuing. It's now time to teach our students how to think and reason. If we don't, we'll keep on electing those guilty of treason. So listen up as Mega Man is about to spit the truth. Gotta stop the powers that are coming after the youth.